Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Kris Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, I am so excited because the wonderful Miss Kris Plachy is here with me, and we are going to be talking about what it takes to successfully lead a 7- and 8-figure business as an elite visionary woman. However, if you are not yet at the 7- and 8-figure mark, we're also going to be talking about some of the critical things you want to be thinking about as you're leading your business now that are going to get you there. So before we dive in, let me tell you a little bit about Kris if you do not already know of her and her incredible work. Kris Plachy is the founder of TheVisionary.CEO, where she coaches the elite visionary women who are shaping and changing the world. She is recognized as the one to turn to when you want to upgrade how you lead. Together with her team, Kris combines business acumen, exceptional coaching skill, and sound, relevant, and immediately applicable practices that change how much women both lead and love their businesses. And one of her superpowers and things that she's known for is helping to navigate those things in those moments that you probably never ever considered when you set out to launch your business. So today, as I shared, we're going to be talking all about what it takes to lead. So Kris, welcome. I'm so excited you're here today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for the lovely introduction. That's lovely.
Absolutely. All right. So I think as business owners, right, many people start off as solopreneurs and then they finally reach that critical point where they're like, okay, I cannot do this on my own anymore. I need to build out a team. And they start to build up the team around them. However, a lot of times they never really had experience either leading a team at all or leading a team in an entrepreneurial way, which is really different than if you have these big, huge matrix teams in a corporate environment, right? So, what
Absolutely.
are some of the challenges that you see people experience when they transition into the role of an actual leader within their business?
Such a great question. And I think it's probably the beginning of where a lot of the other challenges start, right? If we kind of don't have ideas and thoughts that help us make the decisions early in the game. Because what tends to happen, right, is I hit these moments in my business where I now can't keep up with the level of clients, the number of customers, the number of the product delivery, whatever it is that you put into the world. And so you do need help. But that's the problem. What we do is we go get help. We don't actually design positions, roles for people to have. So we get help. We get someone who's good at this thing, whatever it is. And then we need help with this. So then we ask that person, can you do this? Right. And I think I've heard Kelly Roach say it. She calls them Frankenstein positions. And so then what we end up with is this team of people that probably has been with us a while and we love them and all the things, but their jobs are a mess and they're not very good at all the things we've been asking them to do. And that can start to compromise success. Right. And so I do think that's the biggest kind of initial hiccup that can sometimes make founders feel a little trapped by the people in the company, not because they're not good people, all of those things, but we made decisions without really knowing what we were doing. And then we now have them and we feel obligated to them. So there's often a time where we have to do a little bit of a reckoning and we have to reevaluate what we've got and see if that's what the team and the company really needs. Yeah, it's hard.
Well, I was going to say that must be something that I'm sure a lot of your clients really struggle with as they're
Mhm.
working with you, coming in saying, all right, I've got this person. I love them dearly. They've been here for however long. What do I
Mhm.
do now that I know that they're not actually either right for their role or they're not going to
Mhm.
grow with the company or I need to make big changes? And
Mhm.
so, how do you help guide people through some of those difficult decisions or difficult conversations?
It's real. So the first thing to me is like, yeah, that's hard, right? My podcast is called Leadership is Feminine. I believe that one of the reasons that women are so effective at being visionaries and leaders is because of the natural femininity that we bring to collaboration and cooperation and relationships. So, but that equally has sort of the frustrating or the difficult side where we also have to start to look at the truth about what the business needs. And so the very first thing we do is we establish, why does the business exist? What are the core principles really of why we want, of the kind of people we want in the business? And then what are the actual roles that the business needs to deliver on those two pieces, right? And then we can get into who do you currently have and how do they suit the needs of the roles. But I've said this a lot. I think a lot of times what founders do is they're playing a game, to use a sports metaphor. They're playing a game, but what they start to do is they design the game they're playing based on the players they have, instead of establishing, no, wait, what game am I playing? How do I win at this game? And then what kind of player do I need to win at the game? Right. And so we have to think of, there's things that we teach, like how to do a reoffer. Sometimes we have the right people because they're aligned with our values and they're all in on the vision, but they've been doing work that is not the work they should be doing. And sometimes we have the best people, but there isn't a way for them to continue to contribute. And so the other big element is starting to really recognize the difference between you and the personal relationships you have with people, and the fact that really your role, once you're at seven figures plus, your role is to be the custodian of this business. It doesn't belong to you anymore. If it's still of you, then all of this is tremendously personal, and we have to be able to look at the business relatively clinically, very factually, right, with analysis, and say, okay, what does this business actually need to thrive? Because I'm responsible to ensure that this business delivers on the promise of whatever it is it's capable of, right? Yeah, it's
So,
hard.
yeah, I think that's so important though, because especially for those of us who have very impact driven businesses or very passion
Hmm.
fueled businesses, it's something we care so deeply about. I think sometimes it does make it more challenging to make that business decision over that personal decision. Do you
Hmm.
find that with a lot of clients?
Yes, a lot. And we're not taught, just like in high school, right? Did you take the how to have a difficult conversation class? No, you didn't. None of us, right? We're not really taught how we can simultaneously love people, but also speak um, the truth, even if it's going to be painful to hear. And I think we're also very inclined to want to be liked and not want people to be mad at us, and put all that together in this cocktail of stuff, and then we don't want to disappoint other people, and so then we don't address very real issues that need to be addressed, very real performance issues that are not good, and we tolerate it, but we're doing that at the expense of the company. Not just you, but the company is actually not performing because you're uncomfortable telling someone that you have a relationship with that they're not meeting the expectations, right? But a lot of times that's because you've never set them. So we have to start with at least setting expectations, but it's a very real. So for people out there that's you, like you have your person who's worked with you for 12 years and has been with you since you started, I can guarantee you that most of my clients, that's usually the first person they have to start figuring out what their best role is in the business. And for a lot of them, they figure that out. But for some, it's just not the right place to be anymore.
Yeah, I know I experienced that. My longtime right-hand person who I love dearly, I still consider a good friend. We still talk all the time, but we reached a point in the business where we were scaling beyond what her capabilities were, and where we
Mhm,
needed to go wasn't a place
mhm,
she wanted to go. So we
mhm.
had both kind of just reached that point where it was like, we love you, you know, you to one
Yeah,
another, but it's time to move on. And sometimes I think those are almost the most challenging because my natural tendency is, well, let me just create something for her. She's
yes,
great. She's amazing. I want to keep her. But practically looking at what the business needed versus what she wanted and needed, the two just no longer aligned.
yep. And it's sad and it's hard, and so I just I always I think it's important to just acknowledge that that's true, but that isn't a reason to stunt the growth of the company, and honestly your own growth as a leader. Like if you want to be the founder CEO of a multi-million dollar business, you have to be able to do this. You have to be able to have this kind of discernment and make these kinds of decisions and have these kinds of conversations, because you can't abdicate them. You have to be able to do them. So that's
Yeah,
how
I
I
love that.
guess.
And something I know you say all the time is that one of the best ways to grow a business is to grow the women running it.
Mhm.
And so, what do you think gets in the way of people growing in the way that they need to really be able to take their business to whatever that next level is for them, whether it's multiple seven figures, eight figures, or beyond?
Oh, so I was listening to I wake up early and I can't sleep, so I always put something on just to drone on, and I typically will doze. But this morning I put on Stephen Pressfield. He wrote a book called The War of Art, and he's one of my favorite authors. And the chapter I happened to tune into because I think I might have needed to hear it was he was talking about being in the Marines, and he said, a lot of people believe that the Marines turns, nice young boys into brutal killers or something. I'm not saying his words very well, but he said that's not what the Marines do. He said what the Marines do is they teach young men how to be miserable and how to be willing to be miserable and how to do that part of being a soldier, right? How to stand in the mud and the whatever, blah, 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 like all the things, right? Because that's how you build a champion, rugged, whatever the language is that the Marines would use, because I'm not an expert, right? So I think when people ask me what is it that gets in the way, it's that we just want to do the easy stuff. We don't want to do the stuff that's hard. And leadership will challenge you like parenting challenges us. And it's like there are very few roles you take on, I believe, in your life that you just can't shirk that if you want it to be good. You have to be willing to have difficult conversations, make difficult decisions, take risk, right? Do things even if you don't know you're right. Drop your desire for perfectionism, drop your desire for people to like you. Like these are things that we're all raised to we're taught to be nice and supportive and loving. And then now you become the CEO, and guess who needs the support? You do. You have to stop supporting everybody in your team and be the one who actually gets the support. It's such a game. It's a mental game to be a female entrepreneur and to get to 7 and 8 figures. I have so much respect for that. That's so much work in your mind and in your willingness to do things that are hard. So,
Yeah. It's true
welcome.
because I mean, I help people a lot with strategies and with systems and with
Mhm,
all of these amazing things. And the reality is, you can only go so far with that if you are not
mhm,
willing to do the inner work, if you're not willing to do the mindset work, if you're not willing to
mhm,
work on yourself as much as you are willing to put some new strategy or system into your business, you can
mhm.
only go so far without it.
100%. And I see it in myself. I see it in everybody I coach, even women who have, $40 million businesses. Like there's always that next tipping point of growth. And I watch myself say, no, 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 no. I don't like that. Right. Like I have a little tantrum. Like, I don't want to have to do that. Can I hire somebody to do that? Right. That's how I know I'm on to myself. And this is something that's part of my journey, that if I want to be better and I want to make more money and I want to help more people, then this is something I need to be willing to invest in and develop. And that's the only way. There's no skirting around it. I mean, I've watched people take on hundreds of thousands of dollars of investor money just so they don't have to figure out how to do something themselves. And now they've lost a percentage of their business, right? And they weren't even really ready to do it. They've lost percentage of their business. They've lost influence and decision-making authority in their business because they thought somebody else knew better. And it doesn't work out necessarily all the time that way. Now anyway, I feel strongly about that. Very strongly.
I feel like we could talk about that for about 4 hours.
We could, yeah. So if you're a woman and then you're tempted to just believe that somebody else knows how to run your company better than you, before you say yes to that, invest in yourself to get the competence you need and then decide if they're right.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed. It should be a strategic decision, not a lack-based decision.
Yes, not scarcity, not abdication, not help me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overworked. I can't handle this anymore. No.
Mm-hmm.
Just to put some position you to be in your own agency. Yeah.
So we've talked about some incredible characteristics and some things that are almost, I would say, non-negotiables when you really want to effectively lead your business. Is there anything else that stands out to you that you think is really critical if you want to lead a 7 and 8 figure business?
Honestly, it's hiring people like you and me. Right? I know that you and I know a lot of the same people. I can speak from my clients who have worked with me from, the 3 million to 10 million to 12 million to whatever million to, the women who make the decision to invest in support for themselves, not a team member, but for themselves. Those are the women who thrive. And some women, they'll work with one, they'll work with you for a year and then they'll go and they'll be, okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to work with this. That's great too. Like it's not about the longevity of it. It's about the fact that you understand that if you're going to grow this business, you have to keep challenging yourself to sit across the table from, listen to wisdom, advice, tools, tactics, ideas that you would never know about if you hadn't put yourself in a position that probably initially could be an investment, could be an investment of your dollars. It's an investment of your time. It could be travel, and it could also just be uncomfortable walking into a room of people you don't know. But that to me is when you look at that is the difference between women who don't and women who do.
Yeah, I love that. And you've worked with so many different female leaders, some of the top female leaders out there that people know very well, right? And I know you are, kind of the go-to person to help them with that. So you must see a lot of expected but also unexpected transformations. So people
Mhm.
probably come to you for one thing and leave with something even different than what
That's a
they
great
intended.
question.
So what does
Yeah.
that look like?
So I think that yes, they come to me because they're a little exasperated, a little overwhelmed, a little unsure, even like resentful, burdened by their business, right? They come in all these different packages. And so they're like, please help me figure out how to leverage other people so that I don't have to be either worried about it, frustrated with it, or have to do it. Yeah. And um, but then what happens is their marriage gets better. Then what happens is their time, they take a month off for the summer. They go live in, these are just real examples. They go live in their dream location that they've not sure if they want to live in or buy a house yet, but they go live there for a month. They work 2 days a week instead of 5. They improve their relationship with their family members if they're in business together. They lose weight. I mean, seriously, like the thing about, I think what I would say is that we are a full ecosystem, right? Like there's no part of our lives that we're not very good anyway without hurting ourselves at segmenting. Well, this is who I am here, this is who I am here, this is who I am here, right? I think people try to do that, but I think women are exceptionally just built um to be like the full system. Like I think it all influences everything. I hope that makes sense. Whereas I think men are taught a little differently, even from the time they're little bit babies, right? I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying that's the truth. And so when you start to gain confidence and competence in how you talk to George in accounting, suddenly you're able to also have confidence and competence with your mother that maybe you've never had before, or with your husband, or now that you recognize the importance of your own health, that you've had a little extra time, you start to have more restorative breaks in your life than you ever did before. So I think that's the unexpected, that it's different for everyone, but I know for sure that every client that I've worked with would tell you that, one woman I just talked to, she's been in lead for 10 weeks, and she said, it's just really interesting. I just used to hate to come here, and now I'm excited. I'm like, right? It's just once you have your power back, you never really lost it. You just need some support. You're not alone. I think women are white knuckling it entirely too much everywhere. Stop it.
What I think is so interesting about that, right, is when people are trying to step up how they lead, they're looking maybe through the lens of their business, but you can't help but elevating it across all facets. It's not
Yeah.
just isolated, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and it's like working with you, right? Like you teach women how to build the systems and the processes in the business so that the business will flow and move more, right? It makes more sense, right? Well, once you recognize that's true, like that's nice to know about like how you live your life too. Like,
Mhm.
right? Like I have an assistant and she has been amazing about how my house is, right? Everything's organized, the pantry, and then once I've now had her for 4 years, like that's how I live my life because I like how she taught me how when things are like that, I am happier. I'm less stressed out. I lose less things. So you're absolutely right. There's just a lot of parallels. We only have one brain, and that brain is showing up everywhere. So
Mhm.
if it's a hot mess at home, it's going to be a hot mess at work. And if it's a hot mess at work, it's a hot mess at home. But we clean that up a little bit. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, what's that quote? "How you do one thing is how you do everything."
Absolutely. It's really true. And it's okay if you don't even need to think about the rest of your life. I just know that once we start sort of talking about the big triage issues in a business, it really does start to resolve other problems. So,
So we've been talking a lot about those at a 7 and 8 figure level. How about
mhm,
for the listeners who are not yet there, but they aspire to be? Maybe they're at 6 figures, multiple 6 figures on their way
mhm,
to 7 and beyond. Are there
mhm.
any tips that you would have for them in looking at how they lead to lay that foundation?
I would say yes, and start to lead. Like, so a lot of the challenges with solopreneurish, right? Sort of like 100K, 200K, 300K, even as high as 6, 700K, right? We don't really see ourselves as leaders of a business. We see ourselves as the practitioner of whatever we do, right? And so we have to start to see ourselves as the leader of a vision, and that vision is going to grow and it's going to need support. It's going to need resources. And so I think one of the arguments that I have with a lot of the offers that are out there for women who are running 6-figure businesses is that it's very focused on sales, marketing, customer acquisition, um, how to make more money, right? And very little is focused on how to be the leader of a business that generates more money. And I do believe that's a huge distinction. So if you're generating 200K, learn how to hire people really well. Learn how to write really sexy and accurate job descriptions and postings. Learn how to give feedback. Learn how to delegate, transfer ownership instead of just hiring people and thinking you're going to abdicate it. I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of listeners right now who are 3 or 6-figure earners who have a bookkeeper and they have no clue how much money they earned this year. They don't know what their profit margin is because they just turn their numbers over to their bookkeeper and then they don't look at it. They don't do any forecasting. They don't do any budgeting. Sure, you might have a revenue goal, but how are we doing? Right? These are the things that we learn. And if we get in the habit of abdicating, then the first person we hire a VA, and we just think that VA will know exactly what to do, and they won't. So your very first person, even if it's a contractor for 20 hours a week, is your opportunity to start to develop leadership relationships with people, not they're here to help me relationships with people. Yeah.
Yeah, such an important distinction.
Yeah. It just makes it easier once you do have 12 people if you've built that stuff up early instead of having, because a lot of the women I coach come to me 5 million and they do have a team of 15 and none of that exists. And it's not that it's not doable. It's just a little more pulling apart. Whereas if you start, at the beginning, you can tweak stuff along the way, but it's such an easier thing. So yeah.
So tell everyone about your work and what you do and what you have coming up that you're excited about.
Yes, I'm very excited. I love who I work with. So we work with 7 and 8-figure female entrepreneurs who really do want to take their leadership to a level that they haven't done before. They want to really expand either on the team, they want to expand on the growth of the business, or honestly, a lot of our clients want to work themselves out of their business a little bit. I just got an inquiry today, somebody who wants to really be more the owner, absentee owner, and not the one who is doing all of the face of the business. So everybody kind of comes to us from a different perspective, but it all requires learning how to tap the hearts and minds of others in a different way so that the results come without you having to be sort of the queen deliverer or the backup or all the things that go with that. So the way that we do that primarily is through our lead advisory program, which is a 1-year relationship that we have with our clients. And it's really a year to transform your business. And we touch inside of that ongoing support with me and coaching. We give you the vital lessons that you need to build the framework and the, you know, um, scaffolding. It's not a very sexy word, that you can then build a bigger business on top of, right? And we also provide development for your managers. We realized a while ago that we were doing a lot of work with our CEOs and our founders, but the management team that you have, even if it's just 2 people, they're the ones who really are executing and delivering on a lot of this. And um, that's something we've started, and it's been hugely successful, and our clients love it because now their managers are getting some development as a part of their work with us as well. And so we're just, I just want women, I want more and more and more and more and more women to realize whatever their beautiful vision is and to achieve the promise and achieve the potential of that promise. Because I think too many women are quitting before they've given it the real shot to be successful. Because being an entrepreneur is the hardest thing on the planet. I swear it's very difficult. And the primary reason it's so difficult is the risk. And so it's one of the biggest reasons we really struggle with team members is when they don't do their job, you're the one who's on the line for it. You are assuming all the risk. And so it's easy to talk yourself out of wanting to continue to do that when the team part just keeps being elusive and hard and frustrating. And I promise you that is solvable if you're willing for it to be. Yeah.
So where can people find you and find more about LEAD?
They can go to thevisionary.CEO /lead. That's directly to the program. And then thevisionary.CEO is directly to just our website. And it's a little bit more about me and everything else that we offer. It links out to the podcast, Leadership is Feminine, as you know. So that would be where I would say to go. We have a lot of cool things. It's, we're working on what we're going to do for 2024. So there's some pretty fun, interesting offers that are going to be coming out to our private subscriber list. So when you go to the site, you can join that and then you'll be notified of anything that we're working on.
Fantastic. And you have your podcast as well. So
Yes.
be sure to check out Kris's podcast, which you can find on her website. And we'll put that down below in the show notes with the other links as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So fun.
All right. So there's a question I ask everybody, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. And that is, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
How do I work smarter and harder? Leaner. What did you say? My brain made that a mess. What did you do? What did you say? Say that again.
It's how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
Um, I have a team member who tells me no. And because I'm a vision. The reason I love visionaries, right, is we are never short of an idea. I can take 2 days and I have 12 businesses I think I should begin immediately, or programs, or right, like I just am prolific. And that's fun, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting for everyone. And so I think the answer to that, and I wouldn't even say it's just Michelle, I think it's also Emily, who's my CFO, they say no. Or they ask me questions and say, okay, so how is that going to help us do that? And then I have to kind of pull myself back down and say, you're right. It's probably not. Can we put it in the parking lot? And, allegedly Krista might know what I'm talking about. So that is my advice, is surround yourself with people who are as committed to your vision as you and are willing to tell you no. No, we're not doing that. Or we don't have the resources for that. Or what Michelle does mostly is, okay, would you rather I drop this then and do that? And then that gives me, oh yeah, no, let's finish that. That would be good. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. Okay, so final question as we wrap up this episode. I feel like we could talk for days, so thank you so much for being here. But are there any final things that you want to leave the listeners with when they're thinking about how to successfully lead their business?
I would say, I don't know if this will feel good or not to your listeners, but I just want to remind all of you who are listening, who are women, we have an opportunity right now we've never had before. Our mothers didn't have this opportunity. If you have internet access and a laptop and a webcam, for example, but it doesn't even matter. Whatever it is that you do, you have potential. You have so much potential to build a life that is filled with your particular version of magic. And I just would say, don't ever, ever, ever let the team part take that away from you. Like the learning how to lead will only make your life, your business, your confidence, all of it better. And so let's not just assume you're bad at it, or don't quit the dream because you can't find the best team. That was not intended to be alliterative or a rhyme, but it was. So because that's the heartbreaking thing for me. We have so much opportunity right now. Let's all dig in, because our daughters are watching. And I want my daughter to know anything is possible for her. And so that is part of my inspiration, is showing young women, especially, like, no, this is good. And we all get to be at the table, right? That's not reserved for you know who. Anyway.
Kris, thank you so much. So much value in this episode. I hope all of you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you uplevel your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.